Yo, what's going on, party people? It's the kid, the one and only, El Wavy Baby himself, tapping in with y'all. One time for the one time from Wavo World. Of course, gotta say I appreciate y'all tapping in and tuning in. From day one, and now a many days more ahead, right? Today, misunderstanding me metaphysically. That's how I keep a mouthful. I mean a lot when I say that. And let's just start with the premise of what I mean when I say by misunderstanding me. I feel like there's a misconception with becoming metaphysical, becoming spiritual, becoming conscious above all, right? That's literally what it's called, but let's leave it at that. There's a misconception that in this is a way to like escape. And when I say escape, I mean literally that. There are so many things that we as people run from in reality of life. This is not what that is for. And I feel like I need to say that just bluntly like that, because I do engage in some conversations with people who, I guess because of how I carry it, or even just carry me, because that's just me in general, you just wouldn't think certain things about me in regards to experience. And if I haven't discovered anything else within becoming conscious, is that above all, it makes me really truly have to deal with the traumas of life and how certain things affect me, and being observative as to how it affects me negatively and positively, and then being able to evaluate that and see how to use certain things instead of letting it use me, or even turn me into a character that I don't align with. So when you talk about just that as a whole, it places me more responsible for things, but it places me more in a, not just a control, but of a, it more allows me to know, to truly know, like, okay, this is me, this isn't me, this is a part of an interaction that I had, this made me feel this way, this is an emotion, this isn't, like just things of that nature. It makes me way more, not just cautious, but just observant. Like I said, way more in an observative manner than anything. And in turn, it makes my decision making a lot more intricate, because I don't think from a premise of, I understand the law of cause and effect, right? For every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there was a cause. So it's like, with me specifically, I won't say everything and everybody, because I don't control everything and everybody, and I don't plan to try to do that. However, to the degree and magnitude that I overstand that law, right, I'm very careful about things that I entertain, invest time in, energy in, allow to creep in, to my space. And it's like, that can be taken the wrong way sometimes. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not intentional, because it is. And it has to be. Because without, there's just certain things that you're way more vulnerable to. And it's not even that it's like certain risks that I can't take, but when you see something, it didn't just like say something, it's like operate with that understanding. You see what I mean? Now, everything I just said may sound coded, but it's not. It'll make a lot more sense in a second. So, in becoming conscious, right? I've had so many really rocky experiences that the average person, I don't think they would understand it the way that I do. But again, it's because of consciousness. So it's like trying to think of a space to even start. When first getting into metaphysics for me, like truly understanding like this is what I'm getting into, I'd say early part of 2021, like when I knew like, okay, this is what this is. This is, like this is what it's called, so to say, right? And at this time, and I'm thinking it all the way out because I want to be as detailed, as accurate as possible. Because I know it'll make a lot more sense in a second. At this time, I was dealing with this girl. And what was ironic about it is I was already in my studies about certain stuff, but everything that I was discovering and finding at that time was all just in pertinence to the Bible. Like I was really finding out what some of these messages and encodings were meaning to me directly. And then at this time too, there was just I guess this boost of consciousness on the internet. I don't even remember like how I ended up finding half the people that I ended up like, even down to bumping into certain people, like rubbing shoulders with certain people that's doing certain stuff within the consciousness realm, on the internet. And it was weird, still is weird to me, because I don't look at things or people or celebrities, should I say, a certain way, or I don't give status so much weight to life. Let's just say that. So it was like it's still kind of awkward and odd to me, like how all of that kind of began to culminate. But at that time, like I said, I'm studying my own Bible just based on spirit, like leading me to things. Like the thing that I was reading the most at that time was Deuteronomy 28, and it speaks directly to obedience. And I was only reading that for I don't even know how I found it. I just woke up one day feeling like I just needed to open it up. And I was looking for something, like it was a feeling that I was feeling, like a yearning, like a urge, a real hard urge. And I was reading that for like 2 weeks straight, just to gain an understanding, right? And it was like it was just speaking to me and moving me in certain directions at that time. But it's like at some point I ended up reading the chapter right behind that, which speaks directly to being disobedient, and what the really what the repercussions are behind being disobedient after having heard and hearing spirit tell you to move a certain direction and do a certain thing, no matter what it sounds like. And it was weird to me in a way, because I'm saying to myself, I'm like, okay, like I definitely understand that. Like, that's easy. Like, that's basically how I ended up making music. But most people wouldn't understand, wouldn't really understand that. But okay, I don't know what else you're trying to tell me at this point, but okay. And it's like, as I'm having more of a interaction with that, bumps into this girl. And it's like, as we begin to converse about certain things, it's like certain questions between us began to arise in what we really understand about what we've been taught, like our whole lives, and how deep it actually is, and what I would say, how powerful it's actually been over our life instead of to our lives. And it's like, we just began, I don't know, I can't even describe it. It's like she was already in a space of knowingness about the inner workings of, spiritual beliefs and spiritual knowledge and teachings as they are to the individual, and what it was meant for, And I forget the name of the person at the time that I was looking into, but at that time she was into young Pharaoh. And for what it was worth at that time, it actually inclined my information as to all the different religions, like as to their date of establishment, the wheres, the whys, the hows. And that's one thing about me, I didn't care for his presentation so much, but I did learn a lot. And I'll never discredit or put anything down because I didn't like a person. Like, if I learned something, if I took something from it, like, I have to acknowledge it for what it was. I'll never be able to discredit that, so, but yeah, for what that was at the time, it really opened my eyes to, like, man, like, not just we've been lied to, but this is why we can't and haven't tapped into our full power and potential. A lot of knowledge and information has been hidden directly in our faces as to who we are. And it was crazy because at that time, as I began to do my research within there and have certain understandings, I was beginning to do mirror work and didn't even know it. I would take times at like maybe 3 to 5 minutes at a time and just affirm certain things in the mirror. And it was just crazy because one day I was in the book of Revelation, just reading, and I ran across, the famous quote that everybody quotes, God comes back, skin of what his depiction was, right? Which was, skin of bronze, hair of wool, eyes of fire, feet of clay. And it just hit really, really, really different. Like, and I didn't grasp quite why that second, but when I looked in the mirror again after having read that, I couldn't help but see it. I couldn't help but see him. I couldn't help but see who God is. And it wasn't because I was trying to call myself God, but I'm very aware of it being stated and told and taught to me that we are created in His image. But when you talk about that complete of a description, it just told me something a little more deeper than what I could have imagined at that time. Then going across Psalms, I think 82, where it says directly, ye are gods. And then hearing other people at that time reiterate the same information that I'm discovering for myself, it was moving in ways that I couldn't describe verbally at that time, because I knew most people wouldn't get it. So I kind of just held it to my own and just kept researching and digging and doing my own findings and living and implementing, and it was just, things were beginning to, I don't want to just say work for me, but the experiences that I were having, like it began to unlock doors within myself that I've been really trying to find how to get to the door, much less unlock it. You know, it woke me up to understanding how to find that, you know, within myself, with meditating and just doing other different things that I was partially doing, didn't even know it. So, saying that to say that at that time, throughout this whole time period, we were being watched and listened to. But it's like the people that were watching and listening were building and forming opinions about me and about us to a degree where, if there was real love, if it was real understanding, if it was real relationship there of any sort, the judgment that was received behind it shouldn't have been there. It should have been those questions that were so said had come to the forefront long ago, way long ago, right? So, and I'm trying to think how to transition from there. So when you talk about, and it was weird because here I am feeling like a baby into the information of consciousness that she's really kind of introduced me more into. But the more I have understanding now as to how it works, when your spirit is pure and genuine to something, it latches to that way more above and as opposed to a person that's probably more informed, so to say. It'll use that person because the spirit is genuine, and it's like it's like they say, the truth come from babies, or a baby will tell it how it is, or you could expect it like that from a baby, so to say, because their heart is pure. And the more I recognize that now in hindsight, that's exactly what it was. So it's like I'm gaining things, but just as fast as I'm gaining understanding, I'm using them. it's like it's just hitting me. So like it's just being able to generate things, and then the energy that at that time, it's crazy. Like I wasn't even working a job, and I was still proficient. Like I was, still eating, if that make any sense. Bills still taken care of. Wasn't easy at all, but it was, man, it's just crazy as I think back to that time. I'm thinking about the last day that I was in Wavo World. I talked about, why I'm rich. That's definitely another reason why I still move with that in my spirit. I remember that time period, So, getting back to where I was, at that time, we were really being heavily watched, and I didn't find that out until everything hit the fan. And it's like, the girl that I was dating at that time was a friend of mine's sister, someone that I did work with when you talk about like production and stuff like that, making beats or whatever have you. And it's just weird because one particular evening, and I really want to stretch out the story a certain way. That way it's broken down and understood. It doesn't have to be revisited a certain way. But my roommate, let's just say that at the time, was one of the ears listening. Her brother, my friend, my co-producer at that time, was an eye that was watching. And again, I made music with my roommate at that time, and I'd introduced them to each other. So there was a mutual relationship thing amongst us all, so to say, right? So it wasn't uncommon for us to link up and do music, but it was uncommon for us to link up whenever a certain party would put it together. And it's like, in the midst of leading up into this particular day, for a good month and a half, maybe 2 months, every time, we sat down and did anything together, like I was the butt of all the jokes based on how I'm living and the lifestyle change and what I'm learning and how I'm moving and what it means to be me now, And it's like it was a gaslighting of sorts, while trying to still, trying to haze me, so to say, but way more gaslighting than what I knew, So to fast forward, typically I'm the person that put together those studio sessions, or her brother, because that's just us. That's the energy we bring. That's who we are, right? But this particular situation, my roommate put it together, which honestly, from the very beginning, it raised a red flag for several reasons. He's the type of person where if he doesn't know you, or if he meets you a certain type of way, which isn't first party to him, he'll interact with you a certain type of way. And to see that for the first time that happened, right? And then everyone wanted me to lead basically a ceremony that day for the studio session, which felt awful wrong when I think about it in hindsight, because it's like, y'all been joking on me, joking and clowning on me for a month and a half, 2 months, yet it's like when it seems it could be beneficial to you, you were ready and willing to use it. And me being me, it was like I understood very little about what I was into and what I'm into now, but I did understand how energy can be transferred. So it just didn't sit right with me, right? So when this happens, and she's right there, and we're involved, she's seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm explaining it to her, yet I'm not having to explain much without her already seeing and understand. When she asked me, and because me being myself, I still tried to give benefit of the doubt and say, I'm bugging. She says, you sure? You think you bugging? You really think you can trust my brother? At that moment, it was just like, yo, like, and I don't even think she consciously said that. I don't think that's something she just thought out to say. It just rolled out of her tongue when I said what I said. So it just kind of put me in this whirlwind of a thought type of pattern. And then I thought back. She says, think about it. Which either was earlier that day or the day before we were visiting with those guys, because we weren't all the way dead set on making music for that weekend either. We were thinking about going to Dallas. But what she found and thought was weird, and me too, I didn't pay it no mind. I shoulder shrug a lot of things off because I feel like I can protect myself from anything, no matter what it is. But yeah, we were thinking about going to Dallas, Texas that weekend. And we mentioned it. As soon as we mentioned it, people were trying to follow us there. And we were like, that don't make sense either. So like, why, like, anywhere we thinking about or trying to go or trying to put something together for self, like, there's a following right now. But again, when you talk about the state that I was in, the aura that I was in, like, I was really manifesting things into reality, as far as like just stuff, just life, like, and I was at such a peace about it, even in the midst of all of the bogusness that was going on. I was at such a peace about it. And it almost was like they saw it but couldn't acknowledge it for what it was. But when they figured out, like, I'm really doing it, I remember my roommate seeing me one day meditating outside, grounding. I was literally grounding with the sun. And he's like, hey, you all right out here? I'm like, bro, I'm meditating. Like, that's fairly obvious what I'm doing. And it disturbed me to see that you wouldn't give me that type of respect of peace to say, like, I know he ain't crazy. Like, I know he, you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird. Like, just perceptions of people. Perception is literally everything. If a person believe you to be crazy, I guarantee you, it's no amount of convincing them you can do that you just ain't crazy. Like, you're crazy. They already thought it. They believe it. They know it. That's what it is. So it don't do you no good to try to, convince them otherwise. dim your light, none of that. It don't do you no good to do none of that, right? But in short, people were noticing these things and not knowing how I'm doing it, right? Because I'm just learning, I'm just doing, and I'm, even down to like music at this time. Like, I'm selling beats. I'm pulling up at studios, like trying to get in, leaving my flyer in places, and certain people is calling me back. They probably don't even know who they was calling. You were calling me. If you're looking at this, you were calling me, L Wavy Baby, formerly known as Can Be Jamming. You dig? But yeah, just things were just happening and going on. Like, I was really like doing stuff, and it all seemed very unlikely. Like, how? So when you talk about leading up to that evening, and I felt what I felt, how I felt, and what's crazy is this, and I'll tell you guys a secret. If you know that a lot of the major cities throughout the U.S. are built on certain ley lines. Now, if you know about the grid only goes to, I want to say, 33 degrees as far as it being its highest of ley line, the highest of energy ley line that a town can lay on. And there are certain cities, hubs, where a lot of different things go on, that these ley lines or these cities are on top of it, 33rd, they call it its parallel, right? And us knowing what we know Dallas is one. And those were the immediate ones that we were around at that time. We knew Dallas was one. Where else nearby? And I'm kind of giving y'all game, I ain't gonna cap, so be careful with this information. Man, is it Temple? I think it's Temple. Wherever the Koresh guy was, fact check me on that. You dig what I'm saying? I think it's Temple. And then there was another one in Texas they were just thinking about going to, because she says to me, she was saying, this was before we even went go talk to them, and we just having casual conversation or whatever. And she wants to get to a space on one of these parallels of 33rd degree ley line or whatever have you, and get to a space where she can really tap in and have her experience. And she's like, I really don't want to tell too many people whatever have you, because they already label me the weird one in the family. I'm tired of being looked at that way. And I'm just like, okay, I hear you, but you sure? Like, I don't know what to expect. Like, I just am who I am. Like, and that's what kind of baffled me, that even then she looked at me with a certain higher regard. And when you talk about, how I live life in consciousness, and I'm just like, I don't understand how or why when I'm discovering this just like you, but anywho, that's not here nor there for the sake of the story. So it's like, that had that been every bit of either that day we leave or the day before. I think it's the day before, whenever we visit her brother, which I believe was the day before, we ended up leaving and going wherever she wanted me to take her. But the craziest thing is that I think the nearest one outside of the two I named, which was Dallas and I think Temple, was somewhere in like Nevada. I'm like, bro, I'm not going there. Like, I don't care like what it is you need. Like, I'm not going to Nevada right now. Like, it's just not the move for me. I don't know why I feel like that. But then she was like, well, let's go to Atlanta. I know for sure that's a parallel for sure. That's a 33rd degree ley line there. And there's like basically like the hub for this type of movement of living. And I'm hearing her out, like, I'm like, yo, shorty, you know how crazy you sound right now? Like, you have got to be lucky I love you, and I don't know why I do, like, this deep to do what you're asking me to do. Like, this sound crazy. Like, I look stupid. Like, I look stupid doing what you're asking me to do. But for some reason, like, it don't sound wrong. And it wasn't even, like, at that point that I knew I loved that girl. But at that point, I knew, like, whatever we were into and learning, it was deep. Like, it was extremely deep, because the amount of it's like when you're a person who's conscious, that again, consciousness is actively putting on the mind of God, which says that God is in all and speaks through all. At that time, we were having so many conversations that was pointing toward us needing to get out of the vicinity of so many people, based on such and such listening and this one watching that and reporting this, like, and we're not knowing that this is what's going on, but this is how we ended up figuring it out. So we leave, and I'll be honest, I probably left out a bunch, like a bunch, but it's because I'm not trying to. I'm trying to let the spirit take this story and give it to y'all, like, however it's needing to be given at this moment. So bear with me. But we leave. And as we leave, there's this feeling of, this is what we're supposed to do. Like, the both of us is like, I can't explain. We're both looking at each other like, I can't explain to you why, like, but I don't know, but this just feels like what we were supposed to do. For sure. And we're just like, okay, cool. But it's like, as we're leaving, our phones blowing up. And it was just crazy, because again, that was the same night we were supposed to be at the studio session. And it's just like, it was weird, especially weird for me, because I'm just like, as fellas, we don't do that. They have blown off studio sessions with me before, like individually, or I've even had blow off a whole, I've even had, my roommate blow off a whole, event. I've had, like, like a performance, so, and I didn't take it to heart. He had a girlfriend at the time, and I just figured, okay, cool, you out doing your thing, then I can't knock you. It ain't like we were getting paid for it at that time. We were just doing certain stuff for exposure. So it's like, I couldn't fault you for that. I felt the same about this studio session. I didn't think that they would take it as a big deal. And honestly, whenever we got where we were going, for me, that was my intention to tell them, like, hey, look, we skipped out last night, but look where we at. We flexing. You dig what I'm saying? Because at that time, like, again, I'm the only one that's not working a regular 9-to-5 job. Like, I'm living my life like I'm full force, trying to give it everything I got. In between. I wasn't even doing DoorDash and Shift at that time. Like, I'm really like full-fledged, foot to the ground. You see what I'm saying? So it was just, for me, back in my mind, I'm like, yeah, it'd be the coldest thing for me not to tell them, and then we pop out, we in the A, we doing what we doing, you know what I mean? Like, and think about what we were doing. Like, in my head, we had basically manifested a way to get down there, and which we did. So, like I say, blowing our phones up. And it's just like, dang, like, you couldn't even take it that might be with my girl being intimate or whatever have you. Everybody's blowing each other, like, everybody's blowing my phone up. Then I look over and I notice she don't have her phone on. I'm like, why'd you turn your phone off? And she's like, because they were calling me too. And again, like I told you, like, I don't want to explain to them what we're doing. Like, it ain't for them to understand. I know they not gonna understand. So, like, until I can get to a space where I can explain it to them, like, just leave it be. I know I'm in good hands with you. And I kind of left it at that, but at the same time, it was just like, it was just really weird, like how much the calls started coming in, to a point where we weren't even 2.5, maybe 3 hours out, and I had maybe 35 missed calls. And I'm just like, dang, bro, like, that's kind of absurd, to be honest with you. To a point where she ends up turning my phone off. I'm like, bro, how we gonna make it all the way to Atlanta? She's like, well, I looked at such and such, we gonna be all right. And she goes into a meditation. You hear me? And just like, yo, I'm talking about shorty meditated, if not the whole way, 80% of the way to where we got. Now, where it gets tricky, like extremely tricky, as soon as we touch like foot to the ground on Georgia's turf, like foot to Georgia soil, shorty, like, every ancestor that I have passed away in the last 5 years walked through that woman. And it was just it was crazy because she hadn't met any of these people. And it's like, when we got here, I took her to this, I don't even know the name of the hotel. I know it was nice. It was very, very nice. This is where I intend, the lodge for the next couple days, because again, we didn't plan on staying long. Excuse me, like we plan on maybe staying out like 2 days and then heading back. And it was just like, get where we're getting. As soon as I go to give my card, she starts talking like my grandmother who had just passed away. And she's telling me things like, look around, pay attention, are you sure? I'm like, yo, like, hold on. And I'm just like, but the voice structure was striking, like, just like my grandmother, bro. To the point where I had to take her out. I was like, yo, like, what are you saying? Like, what's going on? And she's looking at me. She's like, something not right. Something is going on. They're out to get you. I'm like, who are they? Like, what are you saying? Like, what do you mean? Like, can you explain, elaborate? And it's like, as I'm asking that, my mom comes through. And it's like, and I'm trying to be as accurate as possible, because again, the premise of me having this discussion today is for people to understand becoming conscious and being into all things metaphysical is not an escape away from any childhood trauma, adult trauma, any situation that you deem unbearable. Not at all. If anything, it makes you deal with it, like, first and foremost, like, firsthand. There's no running away from it in general, but if anything, this slaps you with it, right? But where was I? So again, my mom comes through and we're in the car. I'm just like, what do you want me to do? She's like, you've always known what to do. I was like, oh my God, like, what do you mean? Like, literally. And again, this is in the voice of my mother, so it's like, yo, just remembering certain conversations having had with her in that 1 to 2 year span before she passed. It's like, bro, like, you were telling me stuff like this before you left here. And it didn't scare me. It was just, what do I do? That's all I'm thinking. What do I do? Like, this girl is here. I don't know if she's playing, but at this point, it's like, I don't know how to take any of this other than serious, because I had no intentions of coming here. You see what I'm saying? So just turns the car back on, and just the same way she's directed me here to Atlanta from Houston, I give her the same rein to give me direction to where I need to go from here, because she's essentially guided this ship the whole way. So at some point, after her really taking me on a wild goose hunt across Stone Mountain, because now that I know what I know, I was actually somewhere in Stone Mountain, like scrambling around. We end up at this park though, and she was so like in a daze of like the spirit just walking through her. She had like this loopiness of walk, like almost like, and but I can't keep up with her. And it's like, what was crazy about us pulling up to the park was it was a couple there, and they was arguing about something. And it's crazy because I pull up, and the girl's in the driver's seat of the other vehicle, and she drops like a can outside of a car. And she's so tapped into where she is of like the nature and the frequency and knowing who God is, that she felt disrespected that the girl littered. And before I knew it could grab her, she was out the car and at the other car. She's like, "Hey, I need you to pick that up for me, please. The universe doesn't respect that." And I'm just like, yo, like, I don't know where I am, but I can't be angry with you for this, for whatever you've tapped into. And if I get angry with you, it's like, if I got the slightest bit of, hey, like, relax, it's not that deep, she got extremely combative with me. Like, I mean, when I say combative, I mean like combative as if I took her purse from her. Like I took her cell phone out of her hand forcefully. Like I called her mama out her name. You see what I'm saying? And that's when I knew wherever she had gone wasn't here. And I didn't know how to explain this to nobody. All I knew how to do was really go through it with her. But to go back to what I'm saying, because what we do next is start to show me how deep certain things really are, right? But she talks to the girl till she feels insulted, and what was crazy about it, like, I'm trying to get her to relax in how because she goes from real soft to a bit erratic, but she's crying almost, right? To the point where the guy look at me like, "You straight?" I'm like, "Bro, like I'm really dealing with something right now. I can't even explain it to you because I don't know quite what I'm dealing with." Be like, "Nah, like I'm saying you straight, like you good, because I'm good." You dig what I'm saying? And it's just like, I'm knowing he about to bring me into what we call a moment. But it's like, I couldn't even let it go there for sake of like where she was in spirit, like what she was going through. It wasn't even that for me. In ego, I couldn't even take myself into that space. And I'm just telling him like, "Bro, like you straight, bro. I'll let you even have that." You dig what I'm saying? It's just I'm really dealing with something. I'm trying to get her right. I see you dealing with something. My bad. You dig what I'm saying? And it's like, you know what, bro? Nah, you good. I see. Nah, you know what I'm saying? Get her right though. And that's literally what I remember dude telling me. It's like, as he tell me that, and she looks at me, her eyes are bloodshot red, but angry with me for even reasoning with these people. And it's just like, it baffled me. But whatever energy had entered this woman, it was angry with whatever is on this planet, like whatever is on this planet that's not of a certain frequency. I'll just say it like that, because that's the easy and best way to describe it. But while we're at the park, I remember it being extremely cloudy. Like it was almost like a sheet, a cloak of cloud above wherever we were. And I tell her, and I finally get her to grab her hands. Maybe speak for a second. I don't quite remember what the conversation went like, but I do remember that the very next thing we did, because she was asking me something about helping her. She was saying, help me reach it. Something amongst that nature. I didn't quite get what she meant, but she was saying it so much to the point where what we practice in I'm you, you are me, and just really intently looking into her eyes, it's like it hit me like what we needed to do. I can't tell you how I knew what to do, but I took her by the hands because we were sitting on the bleachers at that time, and I bring her to the grass area, and I tell her take her shoes off. Takes her shoes off, we both ground, and hand in hand, it's like how we were holding, like we weren't necessarily holding hand, but like how we were charging energy in a hand. Or it's like this. And then we went from here. It's like we naturally knew when to go from here to both here within like self, because we got so deep into a meditation and a grounding to where it's like then our hands went into individual one of these patterns. The light cut through directly to where we were. Like if I'm lying right now, may my mother come take me. And the light cuts through, and it's like it cuts through so bright. She feels it. She opens her eyes, gets scared, and she runs away. And it's just like it again, for whatever reason, this isn't scaring me. I'm the type of person, whatever is necessary of me, I've always been like that with God. Even before I was into consciousness, whatever is necessary of me from the spirit, I promise you I'll do it, because I would hate to see or feel the wrath of disobedience. I promise you that. And have to relive whatever hell again, I'm good on that. But she runs from me. And it's like, I remember that was the first time and only time I'd gotten frustrated with her in that moment, because I'm like, why did you get scared? What if that's what we were here to do, to complete whatever within that what was going on and happening in this moment? And I felt like whenever she did that, I saw it went from upset, how she was upset with people who weren't on a certain frequency, to immediately afraid, like almost like petrified worry, but she wasn't scared of me. And it's like from then she was just kept telling me everywhere we went, because once I had gotten her like to be unafraid of even me, like to look at me, right? Because I could tell at that point, it's whatever vibration I was on, it's almost like she didn't recognize me. But I don't even know how I do it. I'll talk her back to get back into the car, to relax. Let's go get some food. That's all I'm telling her at that second. She's like, okay. And I'm like, what do you want? She's like, what's nearby? I think it's like a Subway nearby. But as we get near the Subway, she's like, the spirit telling me to do this. And we go off to another pattern. And then it's like, it will lead into this random circle. I'm like, bro, like, what do you need? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, every time I try to bring you to go get you some food, you take me on this wild goose hunt, but you don't even know what or where or how. Again, like, we could have missed it in the moment that we moved when I feel like we shouldn't have. But if that's what it is, that's okay. That's life. That's part of learning. That's part of whatever our journey was. And it's like from then on, it's just a constant up and down of, I couldn't tell if she was here or gone. And I kept trying to, it's like, what made it weird, or the weirdest for me, it's like every time I would try to get some help, meaning call her aunt or her mom, her grandmother, like anyone I knew, her sister, her brother, anyone, she's like, no. Like, it's like she would come too. So when you talk about that portion, to this day, I don't know how real or fake that was, because the realness of what was actually going on and had happened was so deep and profound to the point where I didn't know how to differentiate in between what was and what wasn't. So by the time, this is like 4 or 5 hours of going through this up and down, left, right battle of trying to get her to eat. As soon as I take her somewhere, in which most of the places, shout out Georgia, man, y'all got a lot of Waffle Houses, you dig what I'm saying? A lot of the places I ended up like popping up at or going around was a Waffle House, and every time I would take her in one, just what she would tell us people, like how she would pay them. You know, she would tell them that she's mother of the universe, and she won't be paying them with money, and she would be paying them with some other form of currency. And it was just like, even down to that, like, it's just so much I had to endure, to the point where I couldn't tell you what's left or right or up or down from that portion of it. But all I can tell you is this: at some point, I'm able to get to one of our phones to turn, I think it's mine, to turn it back on, and my great aunt, one of my great aunts is able to reach me, and they ask me where I'm at. I'm telling them like, yo, what's going on? And they're telling me like whatever the story is at that time. Now, mind you, I'm trying to get her to just rest, but every time at this point where we go to a hotel, she's just telling me like, it's not safe. It's not safe. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's not safe? Like, something is gonna happen. It's not safe. Not for you. I'm like, what are you saying? Like, are you gonna do something to him? She's like, I don't know. It's like, what do you mean? And she's like, you need to just leave. Just leave. You need to just leave. I'm like, girl, like, I'm not leaving you out here in Atlanta, like, by yourself. Like, do you know what the f can happen to you? You dig what I'm saying? And it's just like, I didn't bring you all the way out here for that. Like, you're going home. Like, we're going home. Like, if I go anywhere, you see what I'm saying? Like, if I gotta drive you back on the same amount of sleep that I've been on since driving up here, I will, just to make sure you make it home. You dig what I'm saying? And it's like, the more adamant I began to be on that, the more frustrated she became. And it's like, when I finally got her to get a room and relax, was really all of 10 minutes that night, because that whole day was the wild goose hunt from the park on to all the different Waffle Houses and Subways I tried to stop to get us some food. You know, so this at nighttime, I don't even remember what hotel we ended up in. I now know that I was in Stone Mountain. And we get to the room, and it's like she's still in this loopy, trance-ish, in and out-ish state. But when we get to the room, it's like deeper. It's like she can see certain things that even her words weren't even making sense at that time. It's almost like she was talking a different language, man. I tell you what, sidebar, for whoever is into this way of life, when you talk about consciousness and metaphysics, if you are afraid, I tell you what, you won't survive. This is not for the weak-hearted. But anywho, so yeah, she's just seeing things and just saying things that sound so bizarre, to the point where, and I'm trying to be specific, like really specific here, to the point where it's like colors she didn't quite resonate with, and she had gotten afraid of a color she had on, which was lavender, like some color lavender pants, I believe. So she ends up taking them off. I'm like, okay. And granted, this might sound crazy, but even then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, the last thing I really want is for either of us to really be any form of naked or any type of, because if anybody comes and says and sees anything, like, she's not coherent right now. Like, I'm the only person talking for her. So like, I understood like these things, like I'm having these thoughts, like I'm best I know how, not just trying to protect me, but trying to protect her well-being and safety too. And it was just scared. It was scary because the nature in which I'm really asked to do it by her was just so like, man, it was just so everywhere, so to say. But it's just like me trying to be respectful to her wishes too. Like, it was very thin line walking-ish, you know. But again, there's color she's not recognizing. I had on like a dark bluish yet light bluish shirt, because she had on like this leotard. Same with it. She didn't recognize the color, but she recognized whatever color shirt I had on. So I gave it to her. It's like, okay, you can have it. It's not a problem. She's like, no, I need that. I can see that vibration. That's exactly that's what it was. Oh my God. It's like whatever vibration she was in, she was vibrating so high that things here like weren't even resonating with that girl no more. And it was like, the color, it was like it was blue, which on the sleeves was a lighter blue, which I knew was indicative to throat chakra. But the type of dark blue that was in the actual shirt was indicative to, I want to say, crown chakra, because I know pineal gland is purple. I think your crown chakra is like this dark indigo, purple bluish color. Yeah, and that's what color that shirt was. And it's almost like, dang, it's I guess things of lower frequency and vibration she couldn't grasp. Because the color of my underwear, I remember that specifically, because you know us guys, like, had on black shorts, and some black and red underwear, but my underwear were flat red and it was just black around the rim or whatever, you know. And she was like, she's hand toward my lower half. She's like, I don't know what that is. That scares me right now. Please don't come around me. Like, she was afraid of me because of whatever color that it was. I know red being part of the lowest chakra, um well, is part of the lowest chakra. Red does represent the color of the lowest chakra, which is root chakra. And it's like the only thing I knew to do was to take them off. And even at that point, like, I'm covering myself the best I can, because I'm not taking this as a sexual interaction of no sort. This is all me trying to grasp what's going on and just following orders, right? So she gets to a point where she's pacing back and forth, but the way that the color scheme is on the floor, it's patterned. So she's only stepping on certain spots. And I'm just like, yo, like, she literally can't see but certain things. And I think she thinks that the rest of it is void. And when I think back to how she was moving and what things look like, that's exactly what it was. Now, where it gets crazy is where she comes to enough to say this. She says, I may not be sure of exactly what's going on, but this is a ritual. And when she says that, I was like, hold on. Who said I wanted to be a part of that? It's literally what I remember like thinking. I don't remember saying that though. And when she says that, I say, relax, like, I don't think we initiated no type of ritual or whatever have you. And she's like, no, yes it is. Yes it is. You're a part of it now. You have to help me finish it. And I'm just like, to the best of my willpower, like best of what I know how to do, I've been helping you walk through whatever this is anyway. So whatever you need to do, if you found it out and figured it out, tell me what I need to do to help you. And BS you not, it's like right after I said that, she looks at me and looks me dead in my eyes, and she gets frightened, and she says, the wave god is here. And I'm like, man, it's funny because I remember halfway chuckling. I'm like, man, she's gotta be playing, bro. Like, that's the wave god is me. Like, I'm Wavo. You do what I'm saying? Like, I'm still thinking in spectrum of artistry. I'm not thinking about what that channeling is, what that actual channeling is, when I do what I do with creation, right? And I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Do I need to go get him and form one with him? Like, do I need to bring that energy in here? And she looks at me with this cold, hard, nervously shrink down look, like, do not go get him. And it's like, when she says that actually scared me, because I felt like if that was an energy I was familiar with, if that was an energy that you recognize, why didn't you want it in the room with us, with me? And it's like, at that point, she just began to almost sob. I'm like, I'm trying to hold her, I'm trying to hug her or whatever have you. Again, I'm naked at this point. To the best I can, I'm being as covered as, really just being as cordial as possible about the whole ordeal. And I actually ended up fixing her a bath. Again, this girl is my girlfriend at the time, so again, I'm just being the best I know how to be at that point for what's going on and for what I do understand, right? So I fix her a bath, and she says it again. She says yes. Like, she, I bathe all of her really, and then as far as like soap wise, and then she like rinses herself off like by going under. But it's like the whole time, imagine bathing your daughter. That's what it felt like. And it's, man, when I really sincerely think about all that I endured throughout that situation, too much. But again, misunderstanding me metaphysically, the way I carry this and the reason why I carry, this thing a certain way when we talk about really moving on love and staying positive, because I've seen so much negative. I'm only explaining one situation, but anywho, as I give her a bath or whatever have you, and she says it again, this is a ritual, it's almost complete. And I remember that ringing in my ears so loud. But it was crazy because now in hindsight, I kind of get what she was saying, because it actually really began to hit the fan when she got out the bathtub. I don't, like, how did I get her phone turned back on? Her mom ends up calling. I remember getting her phone turned back on somehow, some way. And one of our phones had died, and then we went to the other phone, like they called it, whatever have you. And it was like, I just remember, if I can fully explain like how it was, imagine hotel bed, right? Wall, bathroom. She comes around that wall and she's like leaning on the bed like this, like kind of haphazardly drying off, but like just kind of sitting there, just like blank starish. But she's like really blank like that. And I'm just telling her, baby, it's gonna be all right. I'm with you. I love you. Your parents love you. Your family love you. I really feel like above everything, I felt like that's what she needed to know. All the little its and bits and bitty pieces in between, it kind of all went toward that, right? So when her mom called and she had all of those people on the line, and it's like I'm seeing the fear in her face to just talk. I'm just like, I'm like, baby, like this is your people. Like they'll understand. They will accept you. It's you. Like they love you. It doesn't matter like who you are. They just want you to be here. They want you to, and I'm saying these things, right, while they're on the phone. And she begins to talk a little bit. And for what she's saying, I remember her saying directly, she says, verbatim, Mom, I've been watching occulteric videos and learning about what the universe is and what it means to me. I'm here in Atlantis, and it was something else in between that was like really profound, but I knew it was some stuff that none of them would understand. Like, but even then I'm telling her, hey, talk to your mom, talk to her, they love you, it's gonna be okay, just talk to them, just speak, talk. Everything that I just said was being broken. Like it was, Mom, I've been, and it's like, it took 10 minutes just to say what I just said. So me telling, cause in hindsight, she ends up hanging up the phone. Now I thought the phone had died, but she actually had hung up the phone and turned it off. But this is on the second time. The first time she actually hangs up and I saw it, but I did notice the phone battery was low. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, it's actually low. So the second time I thought it died. She turned it off. And she tells me, like, but she didn't tell me this until the next day. Because by this time, her mom, you know, not even just her mom, like her mom, aunt, grandmother, brother, sister, all of them basically done said because of this phone call that they just had that she's in danger. And I didn't find it out until the next day. Police are at the hotel room door and talking about saying something amongst the nature of what was it? We got a call that there was a disturbance. Is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything is fine. Like now, like she's actually to herself, like she's herself right now at this point. But what was crazy is that when we woke up that following day, which was crazy because I didn't remember falling asleep because I kept my eyes on her, like on some, she was still, after she hung up, or again, I thought the phone had died. She went back into this trance and, you know, just pacing back and forth, and all I could do was watch her because I was nervous. I didn't need her to leave naked. There's a lot of things I just didn't need her to do, and I just had to the best of what I knew how to do, let her work it out amongst herself. Because how the phone call sounded, even at that time, for the voices that everybody had on the phone, they were sounding as if they were being understanding of what she was going through and listening. So even down to them talking to me like, Cam, when y'all plan on coming home? I was like, you know, as far as I know, she told me a couple of days. So for me, I'm saying this exact day, but she had really told me like 3-4 days from then. I'm like, no, like I'm not trying to do that. You know, like I'm really trying to keep everything as together as I know how for what it was. So again, I didn't find out that they had basically said that there was a disturbance and some type of unrest going on in the room until the next day when the police show up, and it was like, any reason why they would believe you put her in danger? I'm like, no. And the person, they show up with a person that claims to be a part of their family, which was crazy to me because the girl didn't even recognize the guy that was claiming to be her cousin, as well as I just met the family for real like 2 weeks ago. I didn't even see no pictures of whoever that was. So whatever, long story short, they take me in handcuffs and bring me down to the precinct for questioning, whatever, and began to ask me like the most estranged of questions like what drugs are we on, what did I give her, and where'd the gun come from, and just stuff. And I'm just like, yo, like, hold on, like, where does any of this come from? And what kind of blew me was, I was trying to understand, for one, like, hold on, I want to, before I get into that, the one of the other things they said is that I brought her against the will. I was like, yo, like, I wouldn't be here if she didn't ask me to come. You know, but the biggest thing to me was that I found very, very odd. It's like, where'd y'all get understanding that I have protection like in a gun? I never told none of y'all. And I knew right then and there, red flag went off in my head. Where does this come from? Like, this is deeper than, now this is starting to make me feel like very eerie when you talk about why we left. Like, initially I was already feeling like people wanted to steal my energy and making me go in and lead a ceremony because of what I was manifesting at that time and what I was doing. So how deep does this rabbit hole really go? Long story short, I just taught the police what it was for real. Like, this girl's had a spiritual walk-in. The reason why she wouldn't talk to you whenever you guys came to the door is literally because she looked like she was just nervous to speak. And at that point, like, I wasn't holding her against the will. If anything, she made me come and bring her here. She said she wanted her spiritual awakening. She wanted to have it in Atlanta, which is the 33rd parallel, a degree ley line or whatever have you. And I'm here. I'm into that type of lane of thinking. We talk about consciousness and spirituality, but I'm fresh into it. Like I'm explaining to them the whole nine of what I'm into, what I study, and what I do know and what I don't know. Like, and what made it so crazy, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I absolutely am. It's like, once I broke it down so deep as to what was going on, the policeman told me straight up, he was like, oh, I get exactly what you're studying, what you're into. It's just pure metaphysics. We have orders of people that's into this deeper than what you know and understand. When he told me that, it's like a I don't know, like a big boom explosion went off my mind. I'm like, oh my God, like, how deep am I into whatever I'm into? Because again, at that time, I didn't know what this was and labeling for real. I didn't get what I stumbled upon in lifestyle. But being that I was just so open, honest, and candid with them about everything they asked me, like literally everything, I had a real legit answer for, and they just let me go. Now, what made it a difficult situation was that all of my stuff was in the car. She still had the keys to her car, like in midst of all of this. I don't even, now that I think about it, like how is that even possible? Anywho, you don't have to make me mad about I don't need to be mad about. But yeah, man, the key, she still had the key. And again, all my stuff is in there. That's why, even down to the phone chargers, that's why the phones were dying or whatever have you, because the phone chargers are even downstairs with my bag and everything or whatever. So the only thing I have on is some shorts, literally, and some Nike slides. These the same Nike slides. That's crazy. Excuse me. But that's all I had on, because remember, I took off my underwear because she didn't understand or recognize the vibration of the color. And then the shirt, I gave it to her. They took her in for questioning. They said she didn't say nothing, like, to nobody. She didn't talk for, I don't know. Shorty didn't talk for like a week, 2 weeks. For real. Yeah. Like on some, I don't know if it was spirit kept her quiet or embarrassment. Not even sure. Right? But boom, I get out. Like I say, I don't have access to anything. And again, the only thing I'm remembering to myself is I don't recognize this dude that's claiming to be her cousin. Like, what are you really here for? Like, really clicking and thinking on that type of time. And what was wild, that when I got released, they released me to the front office lady, and she opens the hotel room for me or whatever. But the only thing that's in there is my wallet. And what's crazy is that I was just going into a spot where I needed my next gig, like my next beat to be sold or whatever have you, to have some more cash. I only had like maybe $40 to my name, like at that specific point. And it's like my wallet, my phone, no charger, and I'm just sitting waiting like by the pole, like, all right, cool. If they let me out, they're gonna let Shorty out soon, then, you know what I'm saying? At least I could do is get my book sack. But I don't know why I'm not thinking I need to really move around for real. I could be in danger. I didn't start really thinking that, and start, like I said, really thinking about the fact that I didn't recognize the guy that claimed to be her cousin. But as soon as I got to thinking about that, and then as soon as I got to thinking about, I'm out here in Atlanta basically naked, with nothing on and it's raining. Like, I look like an easy mark or lick for something, for anything at this point. I can't go out like that. So I make my way down to the nearest gas station. Like, I'm heated, I'm hot, I'm upset, like I'm frustrated, because at that point, like I said, me getting picked up by the police is when I realized they had basically told the police, like, I put the girl in harm's way and I'd coerced her to come in there. Like, I'd found all that out in the police station. So it's like, and then and once I get my phone, dang, I actually didn't even get access to talk to like my family members or anybody from my family till the day of me getting arrested. That's crazy. The first person I talked to was I could say her name for sake, Nanny Lean. It was the first person I talked to because she had the closest connection, with those people, like from the other side, and she's really the reason why that to this day, that when I tell this story, or even when I had told it to them, that it clicked like, oh snap, like Cameron like really had gotten set up, but that's crazy. I walked to the store and I'm like fighting mad because I'm starting to realize what's going on. And I just asked the gas station clerk for a phone charger, bro. But like I'm so angry, like you can see it on my face, and I'm about to cry. But I'm about to like I pick up my hand to really swing at somebody. Like it was that bad. Like like it was crazy. And the dude that he was checking out, excuse me, I remember his name, but I won't say for sake. He might not want me to say it, but dude just looks back at me like, nah, come on, little brother, I got you. Like I got a shirt for you right quick, and I got you a phone charger. You dig what I'm saying? I'm gonna ride you around the block right quick. We gonna figure something out for you. Like it's crazy. Like I didn't even know how to really take that at that time. So boom, I'm kind of running down the story to him. But at that time, again, y'all getting the soft version, he getting the rough version. So like he getting it for everything that it's hitting for. And it's like, what made it crazy was I get on the phone, right? Because at the time, I'm only telling them what I know, which was just starting to feel fishy and crazy. Like she been having me on this wild goose hunt, and how I got here, and the signs we followed, the 222s, the 444s, and the color she told me to look for, and like all of this stuff, right? And my aunt finally get on the phone with her. My baby, where you at? Nanny, I'm da 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 whoop de whoop, and this and that and that and this and this and that and that and this done happened. And she said, oh my baby, like they done had us believing that you done took the girl, you done drugged her and raped her, held her against a wheel, and they told us the only story we got, the very only story we got, is that the last time they saw y'all were acting very erratic, eyes bug-eyed, tongues blue like y'all were on acid. I said, Nanny, no man, like I've never even seen acid before, Nanny. Like I really express to these boys all the time how afraid I am of anything outside of, simply because like I've seen what it does to people, like first hand seen what these drugs do to people. So why would I take her around any of that? And it was crazy because the dude, I just met him. He didn't know me from a can of paint. It's like when he heard me say that, and he heard like the hurt in my voice when I said it, he said, look, brother, I know good well you ain't did that. Like, I felt that. And when he said that, it messed me up that bad, knowing that the person that, I called a brother, the person that I've been living with for the better half of 2 years, but called my brother for 10, 11, had really been listening to everything that I've been into and doing. And even down to that, he said, based on, he even told them, my nanny says, even down to, y'all don't believe in God no more, I was like, yo, like I've never told him anything of that sort. If anything, I told him I've discovered the fact that it's not an external source. It's actually in me. It's me. It's everything around me. It's everything that move, everything that vibrate. And it's like, when I told her even that at that moment, she said, oh, I see what they did. I get it. They played you for crazy. Tried to take your stuff. I said, man. I said, what you mean tried to take my stuff? She said, where your stuff at? I said, Nana, it's in her car. She said, exactly. You ain't got access to it. That boy that was with her wasn't even her cousin. I said, huh, what you mean? How you know that? She was like, because I heard such and such in the name and who it was, and that wasn't of no relation to them. I said, oh, man. So, yeah. When you talk about really being metaphysically misunderstood since the very beginning, that landed me here in Georgia alone. And that's only bits and pieces and by parts to it, because I noticed I'm at an hour and a half worth of time and I didn't recognize that I've been talking that long. So when you talk about, again, how I carry it and how I move about it, like, I do that very intentionally for sake of being able to protect myself from certain things, but also keep people from being or from feeling a certain type of vibration from me to make them want to do stuff like that. I've been through more than just that, but when you talk about in hindsight, like seeing it all and understanding it for what it is now, I've been in so many different situations where my vibration was just way too vibrant. And the next person just didn't understand it. And for whatever benefit that it didn't mean unto them, it was a detriment to them. So it was like, get me out the way. And again, my energy is taken one of two ways from what I noticed. You either really love it or you really hate it. And I have to be intentional about how I move to make sure there's a balance at all times. So people might say over exaggeration of certain vibration that I may give, but in a sense, no, because I've seen just that much negative to have transmuted it to that much positive in the way that I live. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Law of rhythm, and I'll speak more on this one day, but law of rhythm is that, pendulum swings right, swings left, and it has to keep doing that. But how I take it depends on how large of the swing and effect that I feel. I could be on top of the world, but if I still feel like I'm grinding toward the top, I'm appreciative and grateful to have gratitude toward me being on top of the world at that point. But if I treat it a certain type of way, when I have my decline or my small or my low moment, it won't feel nearly as bad, simply because of how I took my high moment and the gratitude I held toward it. But if I hold a high regard and status and stature to it in emotion, you can guarantee that my decline will be just as hard. And that's the law, But in short, I know that might sound crazy to say that after that long-winded of a story, but in short, don't get this misunderstood as a place that you can hide your face in, bear your sorrow, so to say, and not address anything. If anything, this is where you address everything, top to bottom, even the things that you didn't want to see as issue or didn't want to see as some of the causes to some of the effects that is going on around you. You're forced into seeing that, way more prevalently, right? And way more precisely, should I say, too. I'm a person that loves to give the benefit of the doubt to naivety sometimes, and you just can't do that. Not in this. You're not even allowed to. So above everything, don't be discouraged. the hardest battles go to the toughest warriors. Sincerely. So if you're going through some of this stuff and you're becoming conscious, if anything, get excited. Get excited, because you're gonna be one of the most powerful people to ever do it if you embrace it. Because I guarantee you, when I embraced it, when I understood like what was going on, yeah, even in my own rights now to certain spaces, like I get excited about certain situations, if anything, it makes me laugh, it makes me grin, because I know like next step is near. So if I couldn't give you anything, stay encouraged, stay excited, and all those things are happening with purpose. It'll make sense a little later. You dig what I'm saying? Y'all stay up, stay safe, stay blessed. You did. Love.